Hang on just a second, guys. I get that like. Well, I suppose I should turn them both off. Hang on just a second. It's not that dark out here. They're doing some serious renovation to that house over there. So wait, let's see if we get a couple people on here. I don't want to talk about it too soon. Hey, someone's obviously here because I just got a like. Who's here? 3 people are here. 2 legs. Who else here? Ooh. There's a reason that I'm not doing what I was planning on doing today. I was actually going to start on what we're about to talk about. Yo, what's up, Jared? I was actually about to start on what we were going to talk about. And I woke up this morning and it's thundering, lightning, and it's raining, and that scar on my face is really pronounced in this light. So there's like 4 of you here. I'm sure people will see it. I have a knife that I'm going to put up and offer to you guys. Now, it's going to be maker's choice. I'm going to do this how I want. But it's going to go to one of you guys, so whoever wants it can reach out to me and we'll talk about price, because I can't really, I haven't got handle material or anything like that. I will take some ideas on handle material and things like that, but I have, I want to offer it up to you guys and see if any of you guys want it before I just up and make it my way and then offer it up and basically sell it first come, first serve. So, one of my 20 CV stonefish. So, I have the grinder and everything here. I have a plunged guide now. So, I'm going to try and do a unique and a different kind of plunge, and I have some different finishing techniques that I'm using here at the house that I just really couldn't do at Ferrum Forge because it was something that they just didn't have the equipment. Like I can do hollow grinds, I can do satins with I got a specific a couple kinds of Scotch-Brite belts and things like that, just things that they didn't have at the shop, and I just couldn't, until we sold the house and had a little bit of money, I couldn't throw money into. I don't know yet. I want to get some micarta. I have some black canvas micarta, but there's some other stuff I'd like to try. It's pretty nasty today. It's been thundering and lightning all morning. So that's why I can't grind, because my grinder is in the yard. Workbench. I've actually been doing stuff. These guys are going to be here. I'm trying to figure out a way to put this on Mr. Broccoli Head. All of my maintenance kit that used to be in a Zipper bag is now in this little Japanese. My wife and I bought this when we first got married. It's a remote control holder. And I mean, we've had this for 18, 19 years. I used to have it in my headboard, and it had little stuff in it. The PS3 is out here connected to the big TV. I actually had no intention of putting a 65-inch TV in the garage, but I don't want a TV in the living room. And the wife and I discussed, that. All of the stonefish have had micarta handles with the exception of 2. I did one in green glow-in-the-dark fiberglass twill for my buddy Jesse, and it was green and black, and I wasn't sure how it would come out, and it wound up coming out and being one of the most striking knives I've ever made. And the other one is a stonefish that I made. What's up, Aiden? I made a stonefish for my buddy Matt, for Tino, and all the knives I've made for him, his sea snake, his stonefish, his now, the one that you guys probably saw on Instagram, his habu that I did a deep hollow grind on, super, super thin. It's 0.011 behind the edge. All of his knives have Kevlar handles. He got the material, he got them done. I just sent his off for a leather sheath. No, they were all I used black canvas micarta. I don't like G10. I've done one G10 handle sea snake, and that was for David Horstman over at Hiking with a Viking. I made him one out of 1095 steel. It's the one with the super, super thin as well, true Hamon with an etched fake Hamon on it as well. So, I'm thinking about, I don't want to, like, if I'm going to do something like that, it's going to be a knife that I make for myself where I get out of the box. Like micarta, different color micarta, that'd be fine. I was thinking about some stuff that Jake over at Jacob Creates uses, and I can't think of what he called it. It's like micarta, but when you feel it, it feels like a bath towel, and it's really grippy, and it doesn't dust up like G10 does. Yeah, you guys hear the thunder? Yeah, the production models are G10. All of my customs have been micarta handles. I like working with micarta. It's pretty easy to work with. There's some stuff that I still need to do to this blank. It's already been heat treated. It's in 20 CV at 64 Rockwell. So I'm thinking a hollow. I think I want to do a hollow on one of these. I just don't know what the weight distribution is going to be like. I like the way the weight is when I do a flat grind. I did notice that deep hollow. So that knife I made for Matt goes from the spine all the way to the edge as a hollow. So there is no flat. It's not like it's hollow ground just at the front. So it made it so light. Like, I can't remember what I weighed it in as. Between the fact it has Kevlar handles and I did that super hollow grind, it was so light. I was like, holy crap, that is the lightest knife I've ever made. It was super, super light. It's almost like it doesn't exist. To give you a case in point, I'm not trying to do a full convex. I've played around with them and done stuff. So just to give you a perspective, this knife was a good bit heavier. This knife is a good bit heavier than that knife I made for Matthew. And the blade stock thickness on this is about half of what the blade stock thickness of his Habu is. Because I use 0.175. Yeah, full hollow, like instead of a full flat, it's a full hollow. You can find it on Instagram. I did some pictures of it. But yeah, like I said, behind the edge, 0.011. Super thin. See, this always happens. Oh, these shirts, guys. The Ember Shirt Co. This is one of their designs. This is the primitive hook. I'll make sure that there's a link in the description below. But yeah, it's if you follow that link, any of the shirts you get enters you into that giveaway. And I make money on any shirt you purchase. Doesn't add to you, but it definitely, my link will make some money. So let's go in here for a second. Oh yeah, so I didn't do a belt edge on that because of how thin it was and the speed of my grinder. I was afraid of overheating the edge with a belt edge. And so what I did was I just took that. Now his is in S125V. S125. And so I brought it in and I took like an hour and I just put a complete edge on it without doing any belt sharpening, just on my stones. And I tested the edge. I'm like, I'll just test it on some beard hair. And it just touched my skin and started to dig in. And I was like, oh God. That is the only knife I've made that I was kind of, not gonna lie to you, I was nervous around that Habu. Yeah, well, and that's why I'm making this one, is because the contracts haven't been happening. I mean, it's a slow period right now. This is a time of year where construction companies kind of like, they're sitting on the money they made for the year, and they're just going to kind of blow it out. I figure around August, I'm going to see a bunch of contracts pop up that I'm going to be able to bid on. I've bid on a few, but like right now it's coming up on that mid-term of the year where the fiscal year is like, we're halfway through. October's the end of the fiscal year. So that's kind of the reason I'm doing it. I just need to make some cash. So I'm going to do this one for whoever decides they want it. Just got to get a hold of me. My email's always in the videos, in the description. So got the TV set up. I actually was doing some sharpening yesterday. I sharpened a handful of things and sent them off yesterday afternoon. There's some items in for review here on the channel that I haven't got to yet, and there's stuff here from Matthew that he sent me just to give you a sneak peek. I haven't made up my mind on this one. This is a Civivi. I forget which one this is. This is the Civivi Imperium. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this one yet. I'm gonna give it a. I'll email you some pictures. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this one in hand. This is a nice little knife, but it's got some things about it that I just don't like. Spider G, is this the first time you've been on the channel on a live feed? Because I don't remember seeing any comments. Put up a video yesterday about the Franken 40. I know you guys probably all saw it. There was some comments like, oh, Zach was like, oh, that's my favorite Benchmade ever. But it's nice to see other people's opinions. I had to let him know. I was like, but that's my favorite Benchmade as well. That's why I own it. Because I wouldn't have a Benchmade in my case if it wasn't for the fact that I like that knife. So today's a weird, I don't have anything going on. That's kind of what popped into my head. It looks like a Civivi version of a Sebenza, but it's a top flipper or front flipper, and I'm not a fan of front flippers. That was for Benchmade. Well, I'm glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed enough. Another thing, guys, I've had a bunch of people telling me that they aren't getting notifications, even though they're members, like paying members. You've got to go and make sure that you have that bell hit for all content. If you want to see everything I put up, which I don't put up as much as Jared here does, but I put up a lot of content. So if you want to see everything I put up, you got to hit that bell and not just have it, like, just because you hit subscribe, they're not going to send you notifications. That's subscribe work. You've got to go to the bell. There's just the bell, then there's custom, and then there's all. If you want to see every video I put out and not have to like, oh crap, Mike put out like 4 videos. You got to do that. And I'm planning on filming today. I haven't got lighting set up great yet. I'm playing around with this. So if you look, there's my ring light. The nice thing is I can run everything off my PS3. And then I still have to organize this. There's a lot of stuff, guys. Like, this is now part of the outside workbench area. There's a lot of stuff in here I don't need. This is a Cedar Point beanie that I got when I went to Cedar Point in Ohio with my best friend, Sean, before we ever joined the Navy. So that's 26, 27 years old. Is bad storm coming? It's not bad, but it is definitely... My rose bushes are getting a good watering, though. This means I can turn the sprinklers off tonight. So I can turn the sprinklers off for a couple days because this is a good bit of rain we got going. Nice thing about this place, guys, you remember like you guys remember the old place when it would rain, it would just become a waterfall over the garage, and then the whole garage would flood out? I don't know if I ever showed you guys that. This place has actual fucking rain gutters. That's thunder. So I can leave the garage door open and get air. I love it when it rains. Everything smells clean. You can see, like from where I'm at, you can see it hasn't rained in a while. I don't know. I was out at the garage, so I was at the garage door. We may have, there's a Wi-Fi repeater in my daughter's room, and you get some choppiness when I go from one to the other. EDC Journeys. Howdy, guys. What's going on? So, yeah, like I said, anybody that's interested in this, there's a lot of finished stuff going on. Winston Cobretti. It's been raining here past couple days. We need it bad. Yeah, we need it here. But it like mists every day here. Because I'm like really close to the ocean. So we get that weird every evening. It just pretty much kind of rains a little bit every evening here because we're right at the coast, and you get that marine layer that comes in. EDC Journeys, is this the first time you've been in on one of mine? I don't remember. But I am going to film some videos today, so I wanted to apologize to you guys. Oh, you're in East County. Wait, is this Winston that used to work at Point Loma? MA3 or MA2 type? Oh, okay. I worked with a kid named Winston who got medically separated because of back issues. Just curious. Nope, not that guy. Okay. Now I forget what I was going to say. Oh, I'm going to try and film today. I've been playing around with that ring light. Lighting's not great here. I need to get, I'm going to put an LED light above here. Oh, he's in Vermont. Well, I won't hold that against him. I'm going to get an LED drop light and I'm going to hang it right up here above the TV, like right above my workstation. That's the plan. And I mean, yeah, I wasn't getting your notification, your lives. It would just come up after live feed was done. That's why I was happy, and I was like, oh, cancel that. I read slow. Nice. Mountain Warfare. What did I miss here? Mountain Warfare School. I do like maple syrup. Okay, guys, so I'm off of the medicine that was fucking up my metabolism so badly. And I don't know if you guys remember, I lost a lot of weight. I was working out, had gotten back in shape, and I couldn't do any of that. I started having the joint problems. I have an autoimmune disorder, in case like guys like Spider G doesn't know. And so I was on a different medicine, and I didn't get any relief from it. And all I did was get fat. But it was a clinical trial, and so I couldn't back out of it. And so I've been on that medicine since before Christmas. I didn't say anything about it because I really wasn't supposed to say much about it. But I did try to do a clinical trial. I got zero relief. They put me back on my original injectable med. So I should be able to, I'm starting to get some relief already. Like my joints don't hurt as bad. I've been doing a little bit of exercising stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm so far out of shape from where I was at Christmas. Like I was working out daily, and I just got to a point where I couldn't work out. Everything hurt so bad. I'm starting to get some actual really good relief now that I'm back on my regular injectable medicine for my autoimmune. So it was worth a shot. It was something that I could take, and it was an oral medication as opposed to an injection, and it just didn't do anything for me except make me get fat and hurt. So we thought originally I got the placebo, but when I got the medicine, I started gaining weight, and they were like, that's one of the side effects of the actual. And I was like, well, guys, I'm at like 240. This is the fattest I've been for a year. And I'm just like, I know I'm out of shape because just walking, not even walking all that far. I'm like, God, I feel like I'm out of breath. So the plan is I'm getting back in shape, starting as soon as as soon as I get full relief. My knees hurt. Like I said, I have an autoimmune disorder that attacks my joints. That's why I'm not in the military anymore. No, I'm not in the military anymore because I'm well outside of when I would have retired. I would have retired. Wow. I would have retired when I was 37. We haven't cooked all that. It's another thing. With all this move, we haven't cooked very much at this house. Most of what we've done has been drive to Carl's Jr. and Jack in a Box for like the last month or so. Who? Me? Who are you talking to? EDC Journey? Who are you talking to? I was in the Navy. No, I was in a Navy. I was stationed with Spec War my last, I don't know, 4 years. So, and I know a lot of guys that were in the Army. I got a lot of friends in the Army. I was one of those guys that kind of just, I did so many different things in the Navy. I was a 25 millimeter depot level maintenance guy. I went to elevator maintenance repair school. I did gauge calibration. I worked on 3-inch 50 gun systems. I worked at the ordnance facility and was the ammunition distribution and control officer. Uh, was uh, I was a 5-inch gun systems technician. Uh, I was an instructor. I did journeyman instructor like to teach classes for like 5-inch, and then I went to two separate instructor schools of long distance. I was marksmanship instructor, and I did crew serve weapons machine gun instructor. I was stationed with what's now called, I forget what they call it now. At the time, it was called Naval Coastal Warfare. So it was the old brown water navy from like the Vietnam era, like patrol boats on the Vietnam rivers. I was stationed there. I did the flyaway non-compliant boardings called VBSS, Visit Board Search and Seizure. So I had to do all that stuff. I went to designated marksman school at the FBI school at Quantico. I did all kinds of stuff. My career was extremely diverse. It was so much fun. I had such a blast. Like people were like, "Thank you for your service." I saw somebody do that. I was like, "You don't have to thank me. It was a fucking pleasure. I'd have done it if they had just fed me and gave me a house and made sure that they'd served me alcohol. I'd have done it for free. That shit was a blast. I can't. I mean, I loved everything about my job. I didn't like the Navy, the crap that goes with being in the military, just the bullshit that most people get out for. That's just the crap that I had to deal with for having a job that I loved. You know, I told a kid one time, he was like, he's like, well, I'm getting ready to get out of the Navy, and all the guys told me that, you know, before I make my decision to get out, I should talk to you, GM1. And I was like, okay. And I'd had people who's like, why do all of your guys re-enlist? So this kid comes in, and I was like, sit down. I was like, I'm not going to give you a big speech. He's like, the Navy's not for, I was like, the Navy's not for everyone. The military's not for everyone. I mean, you might not like what you're doing. I was like, but I want you to think about this. Currently, you hold a position where you work inside a 3-story gun that fires a 72-pound projectile at twice the speed of sound for 13 nautical miles, which its impact is associated with a bright light, a loud noise, and a rapid going away of things. I was like, you can't do that job in the civilian sector. And just saying it every time, thinking about how much I enjoyed that, I get goosebumps. And I told him that, and he was like, I was like, another thing to keep in mind is I have a room, a bulletproof room full of machine guns that has my name on the door. I was like, you don't get that. You don't get that as a civilian. Just one of those things to keep in mind. And he was like, I'm re-enlisted. I was like, you just have to find that silver lining. Yeah, the Navy sucked. We worked like 19-hour days every freaking day. And I loved it. I mean, it did it at the time? Yeah, it's just, you know, it's finding what you want to do. Like, I almost got out of the Navy. When I was I was going. I had been at two. I had already been at 2 commands, and they had been very bad commands for me. I didn't. Well, my first one was great, and then the second was what almost did it. So I went from a command to the USS Dubuque. It's. You guys want to know how much I love the USS Dubuque? USS Dubuque. That is the USS Dubuque. I love that place. Like, people talk about the best time in their life, and a lot of times they talk about high school or they talk about college. The 4 years I was on the USS Dubuque, that was my best time in my life. And so I went from there and I went to another ship, and that second command, the chain of command was horrible. They had brought this San Diego attitude with them, and it was more about show, like, oh, the ship's got to be clean and fancy. They didn't care about things working. They didn't really care about the op tempo. They didn't care about getting the job done. The San Diego Navy, I hate to admit it, it's all polished brass and fancy work. The US Dubuque was, yeah, it's dirty, it's grungy, it's rusty, but it meets its commitments every time, and we always got underway. We never missed an underway. And so I didn't like my second command, and it put a really bad taste in my mouth. And when I went to shore duty, I just didn't care. I was a dirtbag. I was an E5. I had one uniform. I had one uniform, one working uniform. I didn't have an inspection working uniform. I had a chief, Bruce McClintock, and I came in. I came in drunk at like noon one day. He had to come get me. Came in drunk at noon, and he came in and he was like, "Look," he's like, "I don't care if you want to get out." He's like, "But you signed a contract." He's like, "And you're gonna do your time here." And you're gonna do. Would you turn your alarm off? Jesus. And so I was like, he's like, you're gonna do your time, and I don't care how you do it, but you're gonna at least. He's like, you're gonna come in tomorrow sober, clean working uniform, all this. And when I came in the next day, he just sat me down and he's like, "This is what you're gonna do." And he handed me a notebook, a spiral notebook, and he handed me a publication, and he said, "You can copy it." And it was my rating manual. It was my Gunner's Mate 3 and 2. And I went through it and I wrote it. And then he got me started on a qualification program. And he got me on a qualification program, and I started doing these things. And I came, first class test rolls around. They put me in an office in a managerial position. They gave me more responsibility. And he was like, "Okay, this guy went from somewhere where it was all show and flash and nothing really got done, and realized that what I wanted was work." And he put me in a position where I worked, and I loved it. And I went after it. And when the test results came back from the next cycle of testing, I scored the 99th percentile, which means that I scored in the top 1% of the Navy for my job. And when everybody else got what's called frocked to their rank, I got paid that day. I was first increment. So usually what it is you get frocked and you wear the uniform, but you don't get the pay. And so you have like 6 months where you don't get paid. I got paid that day. I officially got promoted that day. And so that chief turned my career around. And when I went anywhere else, I kind of carried that attitude with me. And it definitely showed in my evaluations, even after that chief left. My first evaluation as a first class, as an E6, I contested it. I went to the master chief. I was like, I can't take this eval. It's too high. I was like, "You're not providing me with room for growth." That's how it works in Navy. You get your first evaluation at a rank, and you work your way up to this point. And they put me way up, and so I didn't have any room to show sustained growth. And they were like, "We couldn't rank you any lower." He's like, "Your last eval as a first class, you were outperforming the first classes. As an E5, you were outperforming the E6s." He's like, "This was all we could do." So back off of that. That's I love the Navy. Back to why I said you don't have to thank me for my service. There's 11 people here and only 7 likes. If you haven't dropped a like, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, I'm starting to film out here. I'm figuring out lighting. I gotta get light. I get off on a tangent. I'm pretty sure I have ADD. But yeah, the whole plan is, since I'm not going to the shop as often, all this stuff here is just gonna, it's gonna stay here because I'm not going to the shop very often. I'll put him back in here. I think I'm gonna put a shelf here so that when I shoot videos, there's stuff on a shelf. Just little knick-knacky stuff that you see. There's a lot of people that have stuff like that in their backgrounds. Yes, it was your fault. So I had a guy. I love comments on my channel because I get to see, like, I've changed some of my attitudes about certain things since I started this channel. Like, I'm not as critical of knives that might have minor flaws, because now as a knife maker, I see that those minor flaws are things that I have a hard time with. A plunge, an uneven plunge, that is so easy to screw up. And even having made a bunch of knives at this point, I still screw them up from time to time. But I went ahead and ponied up the dough to solve that problem. And people are like, "Oh, people were like, "Oh, did you get a sharpening jig?" I did not get a sharpening jig. I still want to freehand sharpen. I got a plunge guide. So this is a file guide. I got this from Jantz USA. It's a Jantz USA file guide. And you basically just clamp this on your blade and you crank it down and you set the angle you want your plunge. And that way you hit against this and you don't even have to think about it. Now all I have to do is just keep my guide. The only thing is this adds a good bit of weight to what I'm doing. I'm going to see if there's a way that I can maybe lighten this a little bit. I may actually file this down a bit. Wow, somebody's running a really rich mixture in their car. I can smell it. Is that loud to you guys? But so yeah, that's gonna solve that issue. So I ordered this. They are not cheap. A hardened steel file guide. These are not cheap, but they had it delivered within like 2 days. So I was trying to think if there's anything else. The big thing was I finally have my workshop set up and we're gonna film here. So with the part where the intro and the outro, you're gonna see behind me is my logo. I'm much more likely to be upset on a production knife with a fucked up plunge. I'm like, you can't. What do you mean you can't get this right? They're not ground. Like if they're hand ground knives, like where'd I put it? It's right here. The plunge on this is not perfect by any long stretch. But the fact is, I know that this is a hand ground knife. They don't use a machine to grind these. There's someone grinding this. And there are a lot of times. So I'm more inclined, knowing the production style, like even the bevels, like this and this are not the same. But like I said, this is a hand ground knife, and it's coming in at that's a hand ground knife coming in at like the $300 mark. I can't get too upset with that. You know what I mean? And this thing is amazing. I love this knife. I think this is a knife that my buddy Juan was talking about when he stopped by the house yesterday. Something else that came in that we're going to do a review about. I haven't ever gotten to see one of these, and it's definitely been through the mill. This is a cold steel Archangel. And these are rare. I've always wanted to see one of these. I've always wanted to get one on the channel. And a friend of mine that helped me move brought this down and was like, yeah, if you want to borrow it. It is definitely interesting. I thought I was gonna be way more impressed with it because I remember seeing them when I was younger and I wanted one. And there's no spring in this. Like if you squeeze it, the newer this is one that is not it's not as good as some of the newer ones, but the fact is, these are rare. These are a rare item. Cold Steel Archangel. So yeah, that came from Spitfire Customs. I know you guys probably see him log in on the live feed. He brought that with him when he came down to help me move. How old is it? They're old. I remember seeing them. I'd have to look it up, but I remember seeing them when I was in my 20s, and I wanted one. I had an actual Bally, a Benchmade Bally that I had. That they're worth so much now, and I lost it. I can't remember which model it was, but they're worth way more now. I paid like $80 for it, I think, from a guy. He was like leaving. He was stationed there, and he left, and he's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. He sold it to me for like $80. The thing is worth like $300 or $400 now in crappy condition. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of those Benchmade Bally's that's worth a lot of money. Matthew has one. Yeah, I think you're right. That is about the time frame. The double detent fad. I don't like the double detents, like the two-sided detents. I'm not such a fan of them. Are you talking about like? Oh, I know what you're talking about. I love my. Let's go grab my knife case. We'll talk about that. Are you talking about like the EWC from the guys at Monterey Bay Knives? Because I love that thing. I love it. It's just not. It's not an item you can carry for everything. It spends a lot of time. Now I haven't been using it lately, but it spends a lot of time in my. It spends a lot of time in my shorts pocket and things like that around the house when I'm talking about this. I love this. It's like a little slip joint. It's like having a slip joint. I said it in a video. I'm going to do another video about this knife. I think I had one of your EWCs in for review, didn't I? I think it was I think it was the one I did the first review on. This thing is great for little around the house tasks. Super, super light, nothing to mess around with. It is the only top flipper I've ever had that now they will, like if you're trying to treat it like, say this, it's not gonna, you're gonna have a hard time comparing it. And like I said, this one's in micarta, and you can do that. But I like the micarta. This is the tan micarta, or the green micarta. This is the brown micarta. So they only did a few of these. The rest of them were olive drab. We got these from, I got one for me and one for Nico. We got them from the old boy at Monterey Bay. And I did a review of it, and like I kept telling him, I was like, how much do I owe you, bro? He's like, don't worry about it. I know times are tough. And I was like, bro, like seriously, I need to know what I owe you for these knives so I can get Nico to pay me. The only thing with this one is this one does have a screw. Nico's didn't have this. Mine has a screw that sticks down a little bit. I don't know if you can see it in there. I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna take the knife apart. Actually, I'm just gonna take it off, and I'm gonna take the pocket clip off, and I'm just gonna grind a little bit off of it and match it to the other one, just so it doesn't stick. It doesn't hit or anything. I just, it's just a little thing that I can overlook. I love this little knife. And it's a great, Ray designs are always great. So, and these were I think these were in 20 CV. Either 20 CV or M390. I don't remember, but I love this little thing. It gets a lot of pocket time. Another little knife that gets a lot of pocket time still. And people like, oh, the Rhea was a flash in the pan. I was like, I still carry the crap out of my Rhea, as indicated by the fact that it is just all screwed up and needs cleaned. So I love, that was the first knife I got in AR RPM 9. And I got it to test before my knives even came out in AR RPM 9. A lot of people still, AR RPM 9 and this and that, and it doesn't take an edge and it doesn't hold it. I'm not finding that. And I think it has to do with how they're sharpening. I know that Outpost 76, was it? Did a video, said he couldn't deburr it. I have found that it doesn't like being sharpened on diamonds. And if you're using a KME, those stones are just a bit too aggressive. And I don't care. People are like, no, you can do it. I don't use diamond stones on certain steels. As a matter of fact, I've been having problems with the diamond stones I have, and I can't get the finish I want. I can get. There's a skater out here. I can get a better sharp, better edge, and better finish, consistent finish on my aluminum oxide stones, and then switching up to stuff. Any of the softer steels, I don't like using diamond. Any of the carbon steels, I don't like using diamond. It depends on the steel. Like 20 CV, I start on a diamond, and then I work my way back, and then I finish on some really super fine ceramics. I find I like the ceramics better. I've been doing a lot of finishing for people on knives that they want a specific edge. I've been doing a specific edge that they want a specific aesthetic on. Like I have a guy that he has a bunch of S35V knives, and he's like, I want it to look polished, but he's like, it just doesn't bite when I get it polished. And I was like, yeah, I usually finish S35V at about 600 grit. That's about as high as I go. And he was like, well, and he sent me a knife, and I went from 600 grit straight to this ultra fine ceramic. And you get a polish, and then, but you still have, like, it's still really aggressive. And I don't know why, but that combination of 600 grit and then ultra fine ceramic, is just insane. That's what I did on this. This is 600 grit. That is 600 grit, and then finished on an ultrafine ceramic rod, not rod, but ultrafine ceramic Spyderco triangle for the inner part, and then on this for the outer part. And I didn't even use a strap. And I mean, that's, I think actually this is 400 grit. Let's turn it around. I'll show you. This is, I believe, if I remember right, that's not even 600. That's 400. Turn. There we go. So it's, for a 400 grit edge, that's really polished. And I find that it gives you a really aggressive, it maintains the aggressiveness. If anything, it feels more aggressive now that it's been finished on that. I didn't even strop that really. I stropped it just on the leather. Ooh. I just stropped it on the leather for this Spyderco. There's a little spot here where it had some strop compound, but I don't even use, I use this. And then for this, I used the back part for the hollow. And it seems to have done an incredible good job. It's really aggressive. The Veneve stones are pretty good. I have a few of the Veneve stones. I haven't been using them as much. They leave a black line on knives that you basically have to use an ultrasonic cleaner to get out. So, but it just depends on the steel. Like softer steels, I don't like to use the diamond stones on. S90V, I will use the diamond stones, but if I'm just only going, my Benchmade, what was that? This has only got a 400 grit edge on it. So for 400 grit edge, I just used my aluminum oxide. It gives it a really aggressive edge. I'm not worried about, like everybody's like, oh, you're not cutting the carbides. At 400 grit on aluminum oxide, I guarantee you I'm still cutting those carbides. People argue with me and I'm like, look at the Mohs hardness scale. The only thing harder than sapphire, which is aluminum oxide, is diamond. And so if you're using aluminum oxide, yeah. S35VN does seem to drop off. What have I got? Now, it depends. Because that is S35VN, and that is super polished to 10,000 grit, and it is nuts. This depends on the hardness. We Knife Company, S35VN is pretty legit. Like this is great. And the reason a lot of people don't like S35VN, and I hate to admit it because I'm friends with Tim and Ann and Matt at Reef Knives, is this. This is only a 600 grit edge, and I finished it on that, and it is so aggressive, but it doesn't, like Jared said, after about 600 grit, it just seems to get slick. So this one, 600 grit. This S35VN, I've taken it to 10,000 grit, and it's still nuts. It is insane, and it's just a difference in the heat treat. This is a significantly harder steel than this, even though they're the same steel. This one was heat treated significantly harder. We Knife Company's S35VN has always been, like, that was the first S35VN that I was like, oh, I really like this. I was okay with it in this knife and some of the other knives I got. And then I got a We Knife Company, well, this was the first We Knife Company knife I ever got, and I was like, wait, that's S35VN? I was like, that can't be. I said, this got to be something else. It's got to be mislabeled. And then I got a couple other knives from We Knife Company throughout, and there's some other companies that do their S35VN really well. But I got them, and I was like, okay, this is what S35VN could be. Much more akin to some of the other super steels if it's heat treated properly. And this is just spot on, perfect heat treat on this one. So D2's not bad if you can get by. Like, I like D2 if you can get by the rusting. So this one, this is my Centros, and I ceramic coated the blade because I didn't want it to rust. I had noticed it was starting to spot, and I was like, yeah, it's time to take this thing apart and blast it and tumble it, or blast it and coat it. I need to get this out. I haven't carried this in a while. Man, this is D2 at 1000 grit finished on an ultrafine ceramic, and it's pretty nuts too. Even with even there's not does a good job. Seems to do D2. This one in D2, the Penguin. This is another great little knife. Penguin with the denim micarta. This is another one I just can't get past the price point, like a $30 knife, and I'm like, this thing is pretty amazing. But it is. It's another one of those knives, like I like the knives that Jared sent me, the Asher knives. Just no frills, bare bones, and they're still great. You know what I mean? I still have not decided, guys. This might wind up being a giveaway to you guys. I really, really like this, but I mean, I don't ever carry it. I don't ever carry this. This thing is so sharp. So sharp. So I don't ever carry it. But it's just one of those things that, like, it's so striking. But the fact is, I don't think I need to keep this Krag because I have this, and this one's not going anywhere. This is the Artisan Mastiff. And this one is an S35VN, and this one as well. Artisan's S35VN is really, really good. It's almost as good, if not as good, as the stuff coming out of We Knife Company. I love this knife, so comfortable. And it's one of those things that, like, a lot of people are like, oh, that's too big. But if you've ever shook hands with me, you know that this is just perfect. Like, as people will see it, it's like, let me see that knife that you had, the big one, the Mastiff. And I'm like, okay. And I hand it to him, and they're like, it's way bigger than I thought it would be. And I was like, that's because you're used to seeing it in perspective with my 3XL glove wearing 6'3", 230-pound bear. It doesn't look that big to me. It doesn't look that big when people see it. But then again, like I said, I'm a big dude. But this thing is impressive. The analogs, do all three sharpen up differently? You're talking M390, 20CV, and 204P? I'd like to say yes. But again, it's based on heat treat, because I have had knives in 20CV, such as this one, that their edge retention is different than my customs because my heat treat is different. The heat treat that I put on my knives is significantly harder than production 20CV. So most companies will pick a steel, like they do a knife in 20CV, and another company will do 204P. So the truth is, it's comparing apples and oranges, because every company, if they run their heat treat differently, you're going to get a different result. So, so you weren't here for that then? No, I was announcing that I'm offering this to be made for one of you guys as a maker's choice. I mean, I'll let you have some input, but I'm going to basically say, I'm going to make this knife. So whoever wants it comes to me first, and we'll talk about the upfront price and all that. Because I have to order supplies. I got to order handle material. I got to order hardware. I got to order all that stuff. So that's just basically what it was. I will say, M390 on this, the heat treat that's on my React, is just about perfect. This is consistently one of the knives that I have that takes the most perfect edges. Is this M390 in this one? Did you just knock on something? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm almost done. How long? I got like, let's stick around on this for like 10 more minutes, and I'll help you put stuff. We have to pack stuff up in my wife's car, so I'm gonna probably do this for like another 5 minutes or so. Yeah, I'm doing that knife. I'm waiting on, like I said, my email's in it. Anybody that's interested, this is gonna probably be hollow ground. I do have some finish work still to do on it. I do have to get up to Elliot's shop. I don't have a way to clean this area in here up until I get a small 1/2-inch Scotch-Brite wheel. So 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, I got a 1/2 inch. I have not talked to John for a while. John was the guy I was recommending for hollow grinds. I'm not going to try and clean it up with a Dremel because the Dremel, you do it by hand and you wind up getting in there. I could, but you know, I wouldn't want to. As a Scotch-Brite's a better way to go. Because then I'm standing in front of the grinder in a natural configuration like I'm used to. I can keep it nice and straight. I can clean that area up. I can marry scales to it. So that's the plan. I need to get a, I just need to get a small, I have a Scotch-Brite wheel. I have a 1-inch. I just need a 1/2 inch. Problem is, like I said, that would be something that would be, these things that I'm doing, like YouTube, the money from YouTube's not paying for all of this. I've already spent last month's YouTube money on stuff for the shop, the grinding, the varnish to cover this, the sanding this, and the fucking all the other stuff. Yeah, square and crispy. Well, I mean, it's gonna be some rounding because I want to marry the handles. I'm gonna do this one different. I'm gonna marry the handles to the steel more consistently with my thing. Or I might try to do a redacted tang. I've done a couple. I'm not happy with how they came out. One of them wound up being too skinny. One of them wound up being too far out. One of them wound up being not consistent. It's just little things that I'm learning, and I don't want to do it on someone else's knife. But I do know that I can use the slack belt on my grinder to marry that those handles up a little bit. Apparently Kamala Harris is finally going to go visit the border. I just got a news notification. So, well, guys, I am going to get off of here. I wanted to go for a full hour, but there's a video that goes up tomorrow. It's first impressions on, I can't remember first impressions on some knife that Jared sent me, I believe. Oh, I wouldn't want to compare. Jared does his stuff differently. I've got a few of Jared's knives in here. They're really sharp. There would not be the edge that, like, if I owned the knife, it wouldn't necessarily be the edge that I would put on it. But they're very functional and very good, and they're very sharp. Like, they're really well done. So I just have a tendency to do my stuff differently. And I have a specific technique that I use. So I wouldn't say that one's better than the other. I do know that I believe that if we were going to talk about whose edges are faster, I believe that I would be able to beat Jared because I have a technique that maximizes, economy of motion is something I was taught when I was in the military. Economy of motion. So if you can make one thing do two things, economy of motion. You do as little additional steps as possible. And so I subscribe to the economy of motion method in everything I try to do. I try to make things as easy as possible. If I can make one action do two functions, I'm going to. So I sharpened a knife for a customer from like jacked chips and then sharp in like 10 minutes in 154 CM. I like that was all the way through. That was chip removal, reprofile, and grip progression in like literally 15-20 minutes at most. When I'm really in a good mood to get stuff done and I'm not messing around with filming and not texting and emailing and stuff, I can do four maybe 5 knives an hour. So I've just gotten to a point where I can just, as long as I'm not distracted, I just get into it and I'm just listening. I mean, I'm not counting strokes. I'm not working on doing a full stroke back and forth because I can hear which parts of the knife need more work. And that's the nice thing about freehand sharpening. You can't do on a fixture. If I notice that just the tip of this knife needs a little extra work, I can spend some time in and marry that all back in. And a lot of times, because of the aggressive nature of that set angle and things like that, you can't really marry that in real smoothly with a fixture. So, well, guys, I got to go help my wife pack some stuff up in the car. Expect to see more videos come up. I'll put up some quick posts and stuff. The shirts, like I said, once again, go find the video I did about the shirts. I guarantee that the link is there. I'll make sure that I put links in some of the newer videos. I'll just make it as a preset. So when a video goes up, there's a link to my affiliate link for these shirts. And like I said, you can buy any of the designs they have through my affiliate link. You don't have to think that, oh, it's just only Mike's shirt. No, I get money from anything you purchase through my affiliate link. Same with the Olight link down below. I know they just had a big Father's Day sale. I have a couple other affiliate links down below. Survival Frogs has got some power chargers, some what was it? The solar powered chargers, battery banks that they've got that are pretty big and stuff like that. So Survival Frogs, go visit their affiliate link down there. They've got all kinds of cool stuff that they're building their brand. So guys, take it easy. I love y'all. Talk to you a little bit later.